What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of Cold Takes from the Land.
Cold takes from the land, where you get the coldest takes from the hottest Cleveland sports fans.
And today, we're not so hot. It's not a hot day, buddy. What do you say?
No, I'm frozen.
As a matter of fact, I'm not hot at all.
I'm not. I'm ice cold. Cold as balls, as you'd say. Shout out Kevin Hart. Anyway.
There we go.
So, as you all know already, the Browns got absolutely fiddled.
Absolutely manhandled this week.
Yeah, manhandled like a... I don't want to say that on YouTube, but it was not a good day, buddy. You know, woke up this morning, with some optimism. Obviously, we did our little preview, and I had some obvious expectations. No, it was going to be a tough game, and then you see the news that Deshaun Watson is in fact not playing, which doesn't surprise me, but it surprised me in the moment because they were really making it out like he was going to play. And
yeah, definitely.
I guess before I get into our rant that I'm sure we're about to have, what were your initial, you read Watson's not playing, what are your immediate thoughts that DTR's starting?
Pain.
Literal pain?
Pain and suffering. No. Honestly, this morning, even on Twitter, and I kind of was reading through Twitter, listening to what other people were saying about the game, I feel like everybody was very cautiously optimistic about the game. I still thought we had a pretty good chance, just basing it off of the few preseason games we had seen him in. Obviously, I didn't watch much UCLA, so I didn't see him play much college ball, but even this morning, I think a lot of Cleveland Browns fans were very optimistic, and that did not come to fruition, unfortunately.
Well, you say you didn't watch him at UCLA. Now, I don't watch a ton of college football. I'm a big Ohio State fan. I watch my local teams, and I get into it at the end of the year especially. I try to pay attention, but I watch a lot of my college football stuff during draft season because, I want to get to know the prospects. And DTR started, I think it was 4 years at UCLA. It might have been 3. I'm pretty sure it was 4. I believe he took over for Josh Rosen. And his whole thing was he's very athletic, had a solid arm, but was very raw, wasn't very athletic, couldn't read a defense very well. But he slowly but surely over those 4 years got better and better, and his accuracy got more tight. He was a lot better at reading defenses. Just the general. He had a lot better poise in the pocket as he went on. And then in this preseason, obviously it's preseason. Everyone plays very vanilla defense, so you're getting very basic looks. But in those basic looks against the second and third teamers, DTR looked good. And I don't know if what's funny is I remember hearing on the radio, I was driving and it got broken to me on the radio that we had traded Josh Dobbs, and that DTR was going to be the backup. And I didn't know how to feel about that because I was like, I like DTR. I think he could be better than Dobbs in the future, potential-wise. And right. I'll preface this before I rip him apart. I still think he has absolute potential to be a very good backup.
He's a bum.
It could still.
Bum.
Oh, he was a bum today, buddy. But
yeah,
I'm trying to be relatively positive before we absolutely lay into
I'm kidding.
this
I don't
team.
want to completely bash the kid.
No.
But yeah, it was pretty rough today.
No.
Just missing throws left and right. Didn't look very poised out there.
Yeah.
Then again, it's not all on him, obviously. You got to kind of put him in positions to succeed, which Stefanski did not do. And we'll go into detail about that, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, sorry. I'll wrap up my point. I'm rambling. But anyway, I remember when we traded Josh Dobbs. And obviously, Dobbs isn't some insane quarterback. But, he has experience. And it's showing right now in Arizona. The Cardinals aren't very good, but he's playing pretty well for what he's got. And I think that experience helps. He's been around the league, different offenses. And going into this game, when I got that screenshot, or not screenshot, but the tweet, or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and I saw DTR is going to start, and a little part of me was just I like DTR, but I would feel a lot better if Josh Dobbs was playing today. Not because I don't like DTR as a person and for his potential to be a good backup in the future, but
I don't.
We said it on our preview that this is not the game we want to see DTR debut in, and geez, could that not have been more true? And with that, Let's get into it, buddy. I'll let you go first. I could tell you're itching to get some stuff off your chest. You're getting it off your chest on Twitter today, or X. Damn it, I'm calling it Twitter. It's Twitter.
Definitely, whatever the hell it's called. I'll definitely kind of respond to that first. So I actually didn't even think about that until you just said it. Like, as soon as we kind of traded Josh Dobbs to the Cardinals, it kind of left my mind and didn't even think about what the situation could have looked like today if we actually had Josh Dobbs starting instead of DTR. So I agree, though. I think it would have been a lot better. I think we would have at least scored a touchdown, possibly. But either way, I mean, defense looked decent, but there were way too many 3-and-outs in the first quarter and a half, I would say. And we just kept, the defense was gassed, obviously. I think we talked about this earlier in the day as well. They just couldn't maintain what they had been doing the last couple weeks. I think Lamar Jackson had 4 total touchdowns. 2 rushing, 2 passing touchdowns. So wasn't great there. Couldn't really get anything going on offense. I mean, the offense was just absolutely abysmal. DTR went 19 for 36 for 121 and 3 interceptions and no touchdowns, obviously. Offense was pretty much non-existent today. It was one of those Kevin Stefanski games where after coming off of last week and we played the Titans, he called a good game. I thought he called maybe a B+ to A game last week, and he calls an F game this week. So
so that's my first thing. Let me rip into DTR for 2 minutes, and then I'll be done. I have 2 positives. His first, when he broke out of the pocket.
He didn't get hurt, and he still has his arm.
Okay, 3 positives. He didn't get hurt. Second positive, when he broke out of the pocket and was trying to make some things happen running the ball, that kid's extremely athletic, and he made a couple guys miss, and showed a little potential there. And that
he's quick for sure.
I'll kind of get into that when I talk about Stefanski. I feel like he should have utilized that a little more. But anyway, so that was nice. And 2, he made 2 really nice throws. That's it, but he made 2 of them. So there you go. There's
Which
the positive.
throws are you referring to?
So he made, I guess it's 1. I mean, he made a
I was gonna say, I'm trying to rack my brain about the throws, and I don't remember any throws that were outstanding.
He made a handful of fine throws, but he made one actually really solid throw. That when I watched it, I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. It was I don't know if you remember, it was when we were kind of backed up on the end zone. I know it happened a few times, but he was kind of running to his left. He was getting a little bit of pressure, and he real quick kind of flipped his hips and kind of zipped it to Lamar, or not Lamar, Jesus Christ. He zipped it to Amari Cooper.
That's pretty much what he did all day,
on
threw it to the other team.
Yeah, pretty much. But he was just running to the left of the sideline. He kind of zipped it to Amari Cooper, and it was a nice throw. And I was like, okay, that was cool. But
yeah, I remember that. I think that was Cooper's only reception of the game.
Yes. But, okay. All right.
You good?
Yeah, no, I'm good, buddy.
You almost drowned there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm trying not to, I don't want to get irritated. I already spent 3 hours. Anyway, DTR, long story short, I'm not going to take too long of a time on it, was frazzled immediately, which you expect out of a rookie. Made a lot of really dumb decisions. Again, he's a rookie, a 5th-round rookie at that, and he's playing against a good defense. Fine, I expect that to happen. The part that bothered me the most, and I have some issues with Stefanski, I have a little bit of issues with the offensive line, 2 specific guys on the offensive line, but the thing that really shocked me and that I was so blown away by was how inaccurate he was. I know he's not going to be some pinpoint passer right out of the gate, but he threw a slant 5 yards behind Cooper. He airmailed that interception when he was throwing to Donovan Peoples-Jones. It wasn't even close, brother.
Yeah, that was terrible too. It was a good 20 yards over his head. I mean, it wasn't even I think the guy DPJ was at the very bottom of the screen, and he just threw it straight to that strong safety.
Yeah, it just sailed multiple passes. Was very inaccurate. Was late on a lot of reads, which again, that's a little more just he's a rookie. He'll be late. Right. The game's fast.
Coming into the game too, though, in our preview, we touched on all the injuries the Ravens had. I thought with Williams being out and Marlon Humphrey being out, we could at least get something going in the passing game, and it just never manifested at all.
Well, that was a cold take, as I'll say, but but yeah, he was just awful. He was god awful.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been much worse.
On the kid, obviously, but the play calling was pretty atrocious too.
Yeah, and that's.
I put more of the blame on Stefanski than I do DTR, but obviously DTR did not execute the game plan at all.
Right, and
Amari Cooper. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off there. Did you want to go?
Yeah. So
okay.
Real quick, just my I'll make my concise point about Stefanski, and then I'll let you go. It seemed to me that Stefanski and the staff wholeheartedly believed that Deshaun Watson was going to play, and they did not have a plan for the rookie to come in and play. And when Watson wasn't comfortable enough to go this morning, they panicked. That's what it looked like to me. Stefanski
was getting first team reps all week though, in preparation that he was going to start. So I have a hard time believing they weren't thinking he even had a chance of starting this game.
The reason why I feel that way, now I could be wrong. I hope I am, but his play calling was hyper aggressive. He was throwing the ball a ton, even early on. Like, I know we were losing, and when you're losing, you tend to throw the ball a lot. But he was getting aggressive. He was setting up deep shot plays. He was running a lot of deep routes. He wasn't running like routine plays you run to kind of comfort a rookie quarterback. Like, I felt like even last year when we had Jacoby Brissett in, who Jacoby's a veteran, but we know his limitations and whatnot. I felt like the offense was called for Brissett last year to make it comfortable, a lot of easy throws, not a lot of deep shots, make it as easy as you can. You would think you would do that for a rookie, but he didn't. That's what's blowing my mind.
I was going to say, and one of the keys to victory we kind of touched on too, getting people besides Amari Cooper involved. Well, this week, we didn't even get Amari Cooper involved. He had one catch for 16 total yards, and I was kind of screaming throughout the first quarter, like, what are we, like, we're not even looking towards it.
DTR, I don't know if that was by design or not, but we had a couple bad plays to Elijah Moore. He had that 20-yard loss on that rush where he got hit in the backfield, ran straight back and tried to make something happen out of nothing and lost all that yardage.
Yeah, Elijah Moore wasn't very good in this game either. Like, he had a couple fine catches, but, like, I know but this is only his third year in the league, but you've been in the league long enough. Like, you should know when you run a reverse and it gets stuffed, just run out of bounds or take the stuff. Don't run backwards. Like, I know he's elusive.
We have too many people trying to play hero ball now.
You're not Devin Hester. Like, you're not going to make 16 dudes miss and then make a play out of it. Like, just go down. Like,
right. Like, and I just couldn't believe we didn't use that safety blanket of Amari Cooper, a veteran receiver who's probably the best route runner in the league, and we weren't even targeting him throughout the entirety of the game.
I saw.
Kind of blew my mind.
I can recall maybe two slants that he ran that were thrown to him, and the one was the one that went way behind him.
Yeah, the one in the first quarter was a good 5 yards behind him. I mean, it was nowhere close. I think the linebacker got a hand on it.
But yeah, it was just.
And then the other one, the first one was an interception. I think that the first one. The slant where he threw it, got tipped up in the air. That was his first interception, and then things just kind of unraveled from there. He never got his poise back. David Njoku had a decent game. The guy lit his face on fire, and he had the most receiving yards on our entire team.
Yeah, props to David Njoku. He fucking...
Yeah,
he literally...
For sure, man. I mean, I even tweeted that. I'm like, what a king, going out there with the freaking mask on after he just burned his whole face, and I think it was his shoulder, they said, right?
Yeah, and they reported this morning that he was having a real hard time getting his helmet on in the locker room.
I honestly thought he wasn't going to start, because as soon as I read that tweet, I was like, yeah, there's no way. I mean, he's just, as soon as he takes a hit, he's going to feel like he's on fire out there.
Right, but I don't want to harp too long and make this a 45-minute rant just about the offense, but yeah, that was mainly...
I think they want that.
Yeah, God. But main point, again, I don't want to shit on DTR, but DTR, he wasn't very good.
Yeah, we'll shit on Stefanski.
I'll get into that. Why? Like, you have a fifth-round rookie in the game, and you're...
I mean, I think he felt a little pressure, too, because you don't have Nick Chubb, and we'll touch on this again, like, once we kind of cover the entirety of the game, but Jerome Ford was terrible again.
That was
Kareem Hunt really couldn't get anything going, so I'm like, I think he tried it a couple times and was like, this is not working. Let's just air it out.
Like literally, one of my things I said was, let's mix up the run. Let's run different kinds of runs. I don't know why he didn't.
They sure didn't listen to us, did they, buddy?
I don't know why he didn't get DTR involved in the run game, because honestly, I think he's more athletic than Watson. I think he's a little more elusive as a runner.
Yeah, so he had that really athletic run at the end of the game where he busted off like 15 yards. He was quick. I mean, he got out of the pocket fast.
Yeah, why not use it? Like he's not your franchise quarterback. Like, you don't not that I'm saying you want to get the
Right.
guy hurt, but like you don't have to worry as much about him taking a couple extra hits out there. Like it's a divisional game. It's a big game. We got to win.
Try something
Like
different, like you said. Like second half after he was playing so terribly anyway, why not throw PJ Walker out there? I
and
mean, he's
we're-
got some experience. He's got a little poise. He played on the Panthers last year. He's been on a couple NFL
he played
teams
well.
now. Like at least he has some experience. He played well. Yeah, he's not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. So
And-
I kind of was agreeing with you there. I think we should have threw him in the second half to see what he could do.
right, and when we did run the ball, we're running the same run plays we're running with Chubb.
Oh, I know. I mean, what did I
Like,
tell you?
we're making heavy
last time we
sets.
recorded, same thing.
We're running heavy sets, making it painfully obvious we're going to run the ball. And like, I like Jerome Ford. I actually think he's a pretty decent catch passing back. I think he's a little better at that than we anticipated, but he's not very explosive. And
Right.
when you look at his like height, weight, his measurable numbers, he seems like a decent sized guy. He just looks small out there. Like he looks like he
Yeah, he does, honestly. I was kind of shocked when you told me what his height and weight was
Like,
a couple days ago, and I was like, man, he looks tiny. He just looks
Yeah,
very
like-
small out there.
right. I'm pretty sure he's like 5'11", like 215. Like you would think he would be like.
Yeah,
granted,
he does not look 215. He looks like he's about 180 out there soaking
Yeah,
wet.
now I'm sure he's pretty compact. He's a strong guy, but like he's just not very explosive, at least from what we've saw so far. And
Right.
like Pierre Strong, he had that big run where he broke a tackle, and he just looks bigger and tougher, and just he might be the guy to go a little more often in
Yeah.
those heavy run sets. And on that
They really got to find something there.
and I'm pretty sure on that reverse play, the negative 20-yard one, I could be wrong, this might not be this play, but like they had Nick Harris lining up in the backfield. Like
Yeah,
What-
I was going
what-
to touch
they
on that
th-
as well. There
do
were
you
a
think
lot
we're
of
gonna throw the
inside
ball?
runs, and this is after our starting center came out. So why are we running behind our backup center? That's another weird question mark.
Yeah, I'm a big Stefanski defender. I've been a lot nicer on Stefanski than some Browns fans have been. I've caught myself arguing with Browns fans on Twitter, saying they're idiotic for some of the things they say. And I read some stuff today that was a little out there.
You're bad.
Yeah, you're bad. You're no good at football.
You're no good at football. You're bad.
but like I think this was his worst play calling job I've ever seen. Maybe he's called worse plays in worse situations, but like you have a 5th round rookie out there and you're calling it like Peyton Manning's back there. Like
It was pretty awful, man.
You
I mean,
can't
like you
can't
said, they
expect
didn't
the
mix
kid
up
to
the
do
run
anything.
game. Right, they didn't mix up the run game. We'll touch on this in a second here. They didn't cover any of the points we had mentioned as far as key to victories go. Didn't get anybody else besides Amari Cooper involved. We didn't mix up the run game. Pretty much everything we called for them to do, they did the opposite. So,
Yeah,
and you see how it turns out, a 28-3 loss to a division rival. And I think at the end of the day, that's where it pains us the most. We don't want to lose to the Ravens, who obviously we both hate with a flaming passion.
Yeah. Do you have any other things you have to touch on in terms of the skill players on offense before I get into my next point?
Oh, I mean, there's not much to touch on. I mean, I think Njoku played very well for the condition he was in. I mean, he had 6 catches, 46 yards. Other than that, there's nothing to talk about on offense. DTR was terrible. We have a kicker still, so that's good.
Yeah, you know what?
Rushing game was
Dustin
terrible.
Hopkins.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Well,
that
the
guy.
good thing is, too, for today, I didn't notice Jed Wills being blown up as much, so that was decent.
Yeah, well, so with that,
Other than that, yeah, we're moving on.
this offensive line, I'll get my point in on this, and then we'll move on to the defense, which even though we got 28 put on us, I think the defense was at least a little more fun to talk about. Anyway, this offensive line. You tweeted it on Twitter. Now, I don't completely
X.
agree. Shut up. I don't completely agree with what you said, but I partially agree. I agree.
Should.
This offensive line is 100% a tad overrated to what people rate it. Now, I know a lot of that right now. We have DeJuan Jones in at right tackle, who I think is playing well. I think he's playing better than Jed Wills is playing, but he's a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to miss some assignments. It's going to happen. Like, he's a rookie. Offensive linemen take a few years to really get into the swing of things, so that's fine. Ethan Pochik, he's a solid center. He was banged up out there. Nick Harris had to play some. I think Pochik came back, but he was clearly banged up, and I think he came off the field a second time. Whatever.
Yeah.
Jedrick Wills, that tub of fucking mayonnaise we got at left tackle. Listen, you know what? again, I'm a little higher on him than most people. I think he's fine most of the time, but my God, this kid's effort is like the worst thing I've ever seen. Like he like
Oh, I've been saying it for months. He's
like
terrible, man.
like toss a piece of fried chicken in the defender's face mask to make him excited to block him or something. Like I don't understand what he wants
He's just
him
one
to
of
do.
those guys too. You listen to him in the post-game presser, and he just seems like he has no feel. I don't even know if he wants to be here, to be honest with you. Like because he has no enthusiasm, he has no personality. He just seems very run-of-the-mill. He's like, if I could think of like a like you said, a bland piece of chicken, or like a if Gray was a person, it would be Jed Wills, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if something needs to be done to fire him up, but like he wasn't god awful today. He's just so underwhelming for a first round Alabama offensive lineman. I would say screw it and get James Hudson in there. But this isn't the worst Jed Wills games we've had. Like if he played like this and the rest of the line was fine, we wouldn't be talking about it. But the guy
Right.
I actually am a little worried about, Wyatt Teller. Now,
Yeah, he was kind of getting toasted today.
so he's a very good right guard most of the time. He's a very aggressive run blocker. He's a little bit questionable in pass protection, which he's always been. But that's 2 games now this year where I've noticed where he's getting beat by like clearly not like this like he got destroyed by Larry Ogunjobi against Pittsburgh, who he was in Cleveland. We know Larry Ogunjobi is just like a fine D tackle. Like he's not
Yeah,
anything
he's just
special.
a guy. He's not a star. He's just a guy.
And today, like, I watched a couple plays where, like, he was just very obviously getting beat. Like, I don't know if his fire and tenacity's gone, but it ain't good.
Yeah. And it's concerning when we're against the Ravens, too, and we touched on this in our previous video. This Ravens front four is not nearly as good as the previous Ravens front fours have been. So coming into this game, I was pretty confident in our offensive line that they're going to play well, and seeing him struggle so much, it was definitely concerning.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's kind of it for me. I'll sum up my points with play calling sucked. DTR sucked. Offensive line was very below average. Run game sucked.
Execution sucked.
The offense as a whole sucked. But we're going into a bye week. We got a big game against San Fran in a couple weeks. I'm hoping get Watson healthy, let some guys get some rest and recover a bit, and then rebound. And hopefully we play a team that I personally think is the best team in football.
Yeah, me too. So that's going to be a tough one.
That'll be interesting. But
we really need to find that second weapon outside of Amari Cooper. We got to find somebody else we can consistently go to and get yards.
And again, I still think that can be Elijah Moore, that can be DPJ.
For sure. We have a lot of guys with potential.
Yeah, it's still really early in the year, so I don't want to overreact, but good God, do I want to overreact at the same time. But that's pretty much my spiel on the offense. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we move on to the defense?
No, not for the offense. Like I said, there was very little to talk about. I mean, 99% of it was bad. Execution was bad. Play calling was bad. Offensive line play was fine. Not great, not terrible. Rushing game was horrendous once again. It just sucks that it had to happen to a division team like this, and we fall to 1-2 in our own division.
Right, 100%. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the offense. But defensively, best defense in the league going into this game. Now, for the first quarter and a half, I think they held up to that remark. Now, when your offense is going 3-ing out and turning over the ball constantly, your defense is going to get tired. They're going to start getting gashed. I don't really care about that aspect. What I think Baltimore did find one chink in the armor, and I honestly think it's our only real weakness defensively. They got a lot of motion involved and a lot of misdirection, and they were using that, and they were running a lot of zone runs out of shotgun, and it was kind of slicing through our defense a bit. I think we were a little thrown off by the motion and the misdirection and the counters, and they were able to, kind of avoid the front four, which is very good, and they were able to get to the second level where one of our few weaknesses is our linebackers. JOK is awesome, but he's not a great run-stopping linebacker, and Anthony Walker's, he's a good leader, but, he's kind of limited, so... he
just doesn't have the speed to keep up with those guys.
Right. And so I think that's something that we have to be careful about. And, I trust Jim Schwartz to address it. Especially,
we'll call him Jim Warts today.
Yeah,
this
Jim
is his
Warts.
worst game.
And I think going into a game against the 49ers where that's all they do is a lot of misdirection and motion and zone runs, and they do a lot, and they're going to be a tough matchup. But Baltimore kind of exposed us a bit.
Yeah.
So
It's frustrating.
I still think the front four looked very good, to be honest. Even late in the game when they were clearly tired, they still got some sacks here and there, got a little bit of pressure.
I do want to actually talk about that for a second, because I was going to bring that up.
Go for it, buddy.
Front four I did think was very good as well. The only thing I was kind of flipping through the stat sheet, and somebody I didn't really notice much today at all, Zadarius Smith, man, very bad. I thought he was terrible today. He didn't have a single tackle. He had one assisted tackle. He didn't get any pressures on the QB. And going into this game, people were talking about possibly a revenge game because the Ravens didn't want to pay him last year for his big deal. And I really thought he was going to do something. He hasn't had a single sack on the year still yet. I'm just waiting for him to do something.
Yeah, he's been a tad underwhelming, at least in the numbers aspect of the game. This is probably definitely his worst game. I definitely think he was a bit of a non-factor out there, at least today. I felt
the other guys all did good.
Yeah, at least, on the stat sheet, obviously Obo got a sack, Jordan Elliott even got half a sack, Dalvin Tomlinson got half a sack, Garrett had a sack, they looked good. I do think Zadarius Smith has been pretty good on the year. Obviously today wasn't very good. I'm of the opinion that sacks are a little fickle. But,
I can understand that. It's just frustrating when his two worst games are against our two divisional teams.
Right, for sure. Yeah, these are the games that you don't want this to happen.
Yeah, you got to get these games. I mean, especially with us, we have 3 of our 4 first games before our bye were all divisional games, and we won the first one thankfully, but then we dropped 2 to Pittsburgh and Ravens, which are really our arch rivals.
Yeah, and now we're behind the 8 ball a bit. We're 1-2 in the division, and realistically, we kind of need to go 3-0 in those last divisional games because we know this division's going to be close.
And
but
only one of them is a home game. We have the home game against Pittsburgh, and then the other 2 are both going to be on the road, so those will be tough.
It's going to be tough. I'm confident against Cincinnati. I'm confident against Pittsburgh at home because for whatever reason, when we're in Pittsburgh, weird stuff just happens. So just things go wrong in Pittsburgh. But at home,
it's like a full moon every time we play in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, at home I feel good about it. I feel good about Cincinnati. We always match up well against them, but Baltimore has just been our Achilles heel.
They just beat us in so many different ways. The past couple of years, it's been they just have our number.
And that's pretty much, again, the defense got tired in the second half. They gave up some plays. Lamar and Mark Andrews had their way with them, especially once the defense started getting a bit tired. The only real big takeaway I had was just the inability to adjust to the high level of motion and misdirection and the way they were able to run the ball against us at times, which even with that, we still, they barely cracked 300 yards of offense, which is kind of...
Lamar didn't even have 200 yards passing, so that's the frustrating thing about it. He didn't go off. I mean, he had a lot of touchdowns. I think this is his first ever game with 2 passing and 2 rushing touchdowns, but didn't have a ton of yards, didn't rush for a ton of yards. They didn't have any running backs that had more than 50 yards.
Right.
So it's definitely a game that you thought you could win.
Right, yeah, so that's kind of my point. I still feel good about the defense, and in theory, with Watson back in there...
Yeah, the defense was fine. I mean, they weren't bad. Not as good as they have been, but the defense is going to be fine.
Right, and in theory, with Watson back in there, you can call a more aggressive play-calling game like this and be okay. I'm a little worried about the line at times, and the run game needs to pick it up a bit. I hope Kareem Hunt can get back in the swing of things and kind of show his old self a little bit. That'd be nice. If not, maybe you do make a call to Indianapolis and see what they want for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I tweeted that during the game. I mean, as much as I love him to death, I mean, Kareem Hunt looks like he did last year, which unfortunately was his worst season as a Cleveland Brown. So, unless that turns around, I think you might have to make a call to Indy. I don't want to do that, but if it gets to the point where it's close to the trade deadline in a couple weeks, as much as I don't think you need a prolific running game in today's NFL, you have to have some kind of production there. You can't rely on Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper to do everything.
Exactly, and this time over the bye week and that going into that San Fran game is going to tell a lot.
Even the San Fran game is going to tell a lot. I mean, it's going to be a tough win. I don't know if anybody, as far as the actual odds makers, are going to be taking the Browns. But even if we lose, we need to see a very improved performance in that game.
Yeah, that's a game which I'll get into it. Obviously, we'll have our preview for that here in the next week and a half. But my trailer to the preview, I guess I can say, is that's a game where we can lose and I'd still be happy if we lose the right way. That's all I'm really
Me
going to
too.
say. But
Me too.
so with that, do you want to get into our three positive and 3 negative things on the week?
Yes, let's do the positives first because these should be pretty quick.
All right,
Do you want me
yeah.
to run through mine?
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
Okay, so my positives for this week, I had the punter because he got a lot of practice. So punter looked good, kicker looked good. I think he had the 1 field goal was all we scored. So we had the 1 field goal. He looked good, and Myles Garrett looked good. Other than that, that's all I had for positives.
You know, I think you summed that up pretty well. My positives,
Yep.
I stole one of yours. Dustin Hopkins, made another 50-yard field goal. Nice to have some consistency at kicking. My second positive is David Njoku. Coming out there with, we don't know how serious the burn wounds are on his body.
So you're looking like Two-Face these days.
Right. Even if they're minor, that's still a very annoying thing. Like if I burn my finger on the stove, I'm crying like a little baby for the next 2 hours. So, yeah. That's probably him in the locker room getting on the helmet on. He's like, as he's trying to get
probably.
that.
God, man. I mean, that guy's a trooper. Like, as dumb as it was that he did that, I'm like, still, it's awesome that he went out and played.
Yeah, went out there 6 catches, 46 yards, nothing insane,
Yeah.
but went out there and played well. Was probably our best receiver out there. Obviously, we know just Cooper just didn't get a lot of opportunities, but
Yeah.
So David Njoku, Dustin Hopkins. My last positive is how easy this game was to make you want to drink a beer. That's my last
this
positive.
is definitely a get drunk game and kind of hope for the best.
Yeah, this is definitely.
It wasn't a fun game to watch. Very boring. Like, obviously for us, we couldn't get anything going on offense, so it felt like the Ravens had the ball most of the time. I didn't really look at the time of possession, but I think they definitely led in that. It was just, as you put it, a very good game to have a beer for.
Yeah. So this is a game where you watch it and you look around, you're like, I think I'm gonna crack open one, and feel a little
start
better.
stress drinking.
Yeah, which unfortunately I couldn't do that because I had to work today during the game. But fun story.
I did it for you, buddy. So
I'll tell. I appreciate it. If you guys don't know, me and Austin, we work together. But I'll tell a quick story on the air. Shout out to some of the homies at work. I had the game on, and when we were slower, I was able to pay good attention to it. And one of our good employees, Cassie, she was standing next to me, and I'm watching the game, and she just looks at me and just looks me dead in the face. She's like, "Are you winning, son?" And I look at her, and I gave her probably the coldest look I've ever given anybody. And she looked at me.
Cold look from the land.
Cold look from the land. And immediately all the employees scattered away from me like I was some beast.
They know not to mess with Draven when his Brownies lose.
No, that's pretty
It
much
happens
sums
a
it
lot.
up for me.
We're used to it, but it never makes it any easier, even though we're used to it.
But yeah, that's good times. But with that, let's get into the 3 negatives. I'm kind of curious what your negatives are because there's a lot of stuff you could pick. Let's hear it, buddy.
Yeah. So I actually amended mine. I had a couple written down, and then when I got home, thought about it, I changed them up. My first one, I had the play calling. Like I said, an F game from Stefanski. Absolutely terrible play calling pretty much the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And I touched on this earlier as well. Non-existent run game. Like it's really tough to go from Nick Chubb the last 4 seasons to watching these guys try to go out there and fill his shoes now. It's night and day. Like we touched on it the other day as well. These 3 running backs together don't even hold a candle to what Nick Chubb does. So it's kind of hard to watch what we have going on right now.
Right.
And then my last thing was they literally did none of any of our 6 total keys to victory. So everything we said they needed to do, they did the absolute opposite this game.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, again, I can't disagree on anything. For me, my 3 things. The first one, I'm not gonna say the play calling. I'm gonna say the game plan because to me, this looks like a game plan that was laid out as if Deshaun Watson was quarterback. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe DTR was absolutely slinging it in practice and just had a really bad day. But again, I just feel
if we ran this exact same game with Deshaun in there, though, I think we still lose. Even if we had Deshaun in there, it would have been a better score, but we still would have lost. I think the game plan was just bad all around.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a rookie, you come out over-aggressive. You don't run the ball enough early, so then you're behind the 8 ball. When you try to run the ball later in the game, it's nothing because, we just already went over that. It was pretty trash. So
You big old piece of trash.
yeah, they were a big old piece of trash.
Piece of trash.
But basically the game plan of the offense is my first negative, so that kind of sums up majority of the offense for me. My second negative is the lack of...
I heard that sigh there.
Yeah. My second negative is, again, the lack of turnovers. This is a defense that has been excellent. Even in this game, I could still say I still think they were good in this game, even in a blowout. I just don't... The turnovers aren't happening. We play a lot of man-to-man coverage on the back end. We have great pass rushers. And I feel like we should be forcing more turnovers. I know we did recover a fumble, but that was about it.
That was our only turnover, I believe, right?
Yeah. So
how many interceptions do we have in the season? One against Pittsburgh, and I don't remember any others.
We didn't.
Okay.
That's it. Which, again,
pretty tough 4 games in to have 1 INT.
You don't have to have a ridiculous amount of turnovers to be a great defense. Like, a lot of great defenses have very low turnovers. It just depends on the style.
Oh, for sure.
But we at least got to get something going. We're in a very aggressive defense. Obviously, it could just be maybe the wrong guys just aren't in quite the right spot at the right time to make that interception or recover that fumble. But, I'd like to see more turnovers forced. That is one thing I will give Greg Williams. He called a hyper-aggressive defense that bit us in the ass a lot, but man, he forced turnovers. I'm not saying I'd want him over Jim Schwartz. I'd pick Jim Schwartz every day of the week, but maybe get Greg Williams.
Greg was good. I was gonna say they're both very good at what they do.
Maybe get Greg on the staff just to cuss him out at halftime and make him. I'm gonna kill him at halftime. Shout out Hard Knocks.
I'm gonna kill him at halftime.
Yeah,
literally.
But
I'm sure Jim Schwartz does some of that. He seems like the type of guy that probably lights a fire under their ass.
No, yeah. I don't want to make this about Jim Schwartz. I think he's awesome, and I want him to stick around for a long time. I just like to see a little bit more turnovers. But that's my second negative.
Me too. A lot of that is luck too. We just haven't gotten lucky. Like, it's a little luck and being in the right spot at the right times, and neither one of has happened for us so far.
Right. And my third negative is the lack of snapping Lamar in half. That's literally how I wrote it down.
So frustrating, man.
I'm not saying I want him to go out and hurt the guy, but tweak his ankle, make him miss just the game.
But like we did a couple years ago.
Yeah, we went to the Browns-Ravens game 2 years ago, and it happened to be like the one damn game against the Ravens we won. So that was a good time.
My very first and only Browns game.
Yeah, which we'll probably go to another one this year, get some video of it, and hopefully it's a good time. But
we'll kill him at halftime.
Yeah, we'll kill him at halftime. We'll break into the locker room and give it to him a little bit.
I'm absolutely beside myself.
Literally. But no, basically what I mean by that is, it's just, I don't know if it's necessarily anything we did. It's just Lamar Jackson's just so frustrating to watch just because he avoids contact and is so elusive and just seems like he slides by every single time, especially when he plays the Browns. Like, it's always him and Mark Andrews just absolutely, penetrating the Browns. But
he's 1-1, man. I mean, he's the only guy you have to game plan for like that. And I touched on it in my keys to victory. Mark Andrews only had 80 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. So the one guy, the one weapon they have, we don't take that away, you're going to lose.
Right, exactly. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me on my positives and negatives. Do you have anything else you want to add on that?
No, not really, man. I mean, this game was a big old piece of trash.
Yes, yeah, big old piece of trash. But I'll sum it up with this. This was a very negative episode. This was a very negative day, and I'm sure it's going to be a negative next couple days. But, the Bengals lost. The Steelers lost. It's still early.
That is our only silver lining.
Yeah, it's still early. We're going to get Watson back. And, we have a bye week, which this is the one time I'm grateful for a really early bye week, just because this is a shitty game to have.
Deshaun needs to get right.
But get Deshaun healthy. Be cautious. We don't want another Baker situation. And just really use this bye week to hammer out the details and get into a good rest of the year. I always like to bring up the point. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but it's just a good point. The first year the Buccaneers had Tom Brady. They went into the first 12 games. They were 7-5, but they were an ugly ass 7-5. They got blown out by the Saints. And they lost some ugly games. They barely won some games they should have won. And when you looked at that team on paper, they have all these guys, they have these good coaches, and you're like, man, they should be like 9-3 or 10-2, but they're 7-5, not looking good. A lot of guys are like, man, maybe they won't even make the playoffs. Tom Brady should retire. Bruce Arians, maybe he's not the coach for this team. It's not looking good. And then they got a bye week after 12 games. They had a late bye week. And coming out of that, they played a couple lesser teams. They kind of got things together, won their last 4, and then they go on and they mollywhopped the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And we know how good the Chiefs are. And, I try to think of that as...
Fuck the Chiefs.
Fuck them right in the pussy. But this is a demonetization episode, but it's fine. Not that we're making a bunch of money off this or anything, but basically,
not yet, anyways.
I'm gonna try and stay positive. We'll have another video probably in the coming days, after we've cooled off a bit, and just give our thoughts going into the bye week in more detail. But
I'm never gonna forget this shit.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna stick in the back of my head until I see another win. That's for sure. But
yeah, which. We'll see. We'll have a pregame, like Draven kind of said. We'll kind of touch on expectations of what we think will happen in the Niners game coming up after the bye week. I imagine we'll probably even do an extra video during the bye week just to kind of keep up on Browns content.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely get something out there. I'm not sure exactly what we'll do, but we'll do something. And so, do you have anything to add, buddy?
No, I think we pretty much touched on everything, man. Just tough loss. Not much you can do. I mean, we're 2-2, so even though, like you said, it feels like we got shot through the heart, 2-2 still. We got the bye this week, kind of regroup and go from there.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's pretty much our thoughts on the game. Terrible week, but great teams need these games. That's the way I'm gonna try and look at it. And I hope
a big 0-2 in Cleveland today as well with the Guardians in their last game of the season.
Yeah, which that will be in that I think will likely be our next video. We'll get a video kind of summing up the Guardians. But crappy day today for Cleveland sports in general. Browns got mollywhopped, but defense still looked good enough. Let's go into the bye week, get Watson right, get it together, and just have some optimism. The season's not over. So,
right.
Again, that's pretty much all we got for today. We appreciate you guys listening to our rant. I hope you guys agreed with most of what we said. If not, you can give a little call to this guy. Yeah. But
yeah.
But all jokes aside, we appreciate you guys for watching. Our last video, I think, is creeping up on 150 views, which that may seem like nothing to a lot of people, but we really appreciate it. And
Definitely.
we hope we can follow our Twitter. It's just a handle. It's just Cold Takes from the Land, right?
Yep, you got it.
Yeah, so just follow our Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Cold Takes from the
Always
Land.
putting out interesting stuff on Twitter, so
Yep.
keep up with that.
Yep, we're trying to be more active on that. It'll be a combination of both of us tweeting back and forth.
Yeah.
And we'll try to get more active on that, especially during game days, so we can interact with you guys as we build a little bit of a following, and we love to interact with you guys on the comment section and whatnot. So again, we appreciate you guys for watching, and we hope you guys can enjoy our sadness. If you feel like
I'm sure there'll be a lot of it. There always is.
Yeah, if you feel like you feel like you're having a bad day, had a bad day at work, just come back, watch this video, you'll feel a little better.
You had a bad day. Take me one down.
Oh God. But
yeah, it was a rough one today.
Yeah, it was rough. But yeah, let me get this.
What can you do?
Yeah, let me end this before I end myself. Whoa, calm down, buddy. Anyway, rough day, but again, we appreciate you guys for watching. The last video's doing well. We hope this one can do well. We're going to keep on chugging out content. We're going to get some Guardian stuff out. Cavs coming soon, as I keep saying, and we'll have some fun stuff. We have a couple fun ideas waiting in the wings that we think will be entertaining for you guys. But again, we can't say it enough. We appreciate all you guys for listening and watching, and we hope you guys can share it to friends, family that you think may enjoy us, and let's get a little following going, get some fans up in here so we can talk, and maybe have some guests on the show or whatever. But it's pretty much it for me.
Yes, sir.
It's been Cold Takes from the Land, episode 3, and we will see you guys in a better mood in the next video.
Cold Takes from the Land.